This resilience topic will be covering brain fitness, which means challenging both your mind and heart. You've probably heard the phrase, train our brains. But how exactly can we do that? Well, that's going to be any activity where we challenge our intellect, like doing something outside of what we are keenly aware of or what we do on a regular basis. It's essentially just something outside of the norm. One way we can train our brain is through mnemonic strategy. That's an instructional strategy that helps improve our memory. It connects our new learning to prior learning, and it often uses keywords or rhyming poems. Think back to your time in elementary school. Roy G. Biv. When I said that, did you think red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet? Or did you at least acknowledge that it represents the order of the colors in the rainbow? Additionally, there's reasoning training. Those are puzzles that challenge our logical thinking. You can think of it like a series of arrows going in different directions, and you have to figure out which direction it should point to next. It can be very frustrating, but I promise, it's a great training process. Then there's speed of process training, which aims to improve our processing speed and visual attention. It uses repeated, related tasks that increase with difficulty. As you do more tasks, you can get better at them, and they will increase in difficulty. We're going to be specifically training our brain to help regulate our emotions. We want to be able to identify them when we experience them so that they can either be controlled or identified and dealt with in the moment. Using mindfulness can be extremely helpful. Mindfulness helps us develop a calm sense of peace within ourselves. It helps us to pay attention to what's going on around us right now, to live in that moment, and then to ultimately accept ourselves. Self-acceptance is a huge part of mindfulness, and it can improve our coping strategies. Plus, when we are mindful, there's a decrease, or at least a chance of a decrease, in our stress levels and our symptoms of anxiety and depression. There are 3 components to mindfulness that we want to bring attention to, and those include intention. What are you doing, and what do you hope to get from that experience? Attention. Are you paying attention to your inner and outer experiences? Are you being in that moment? Are you seeing what's available in that moment for you to pull from? And lastly, attitude. Do you have a positive attitude? Consider acting with curiosity and try to be more accepting of other ideas and people. Most importantly, always remain kind. Let's consider the role of our good friend, sleep. Why is that important for our emotional brain? Well, it's because when we deprive ourselves of sleep, it creates risks for mistakes. How often have you watched a show and seen the sleepy dad who gets out of bed in the middle of the night, trying to give his kid their bottle but feeding them with the wrong end? That's called sleep deprivation, and it leaves plenty of opportunity for mistakes. Not getting enough sleep impairs our cognitive and emotional performance, so that we end up performing well below our normal capability. It can create drastic mood shifts. When you don't get enough sleep, you're going to be irritable. There are going to be things that you don't want to do. You can be grouchy, you can be reactive, and it all leads back to increased irritability. You also tend to lose your sense of humor. What might be funny on a full night's sleep is probably not so funny when you haven't had any. Again, sleep is going to help us better deal with our stress and anxiety, and our depression. When we're not able to process information and see things for what they are in the moment, then it's really hard for us to use our coping strategies. So now we know why we want to train the brain, and we also know different ways to do it. What do we do now? Well, all training, whether physical or brain training, requires the discipline to stick to a plan. Plan out what you're going to do on a daily basis, then execute it. Follow through. If it's something that you haven't been able to follow through with in the past, then revisit it. Learn from your mistakes because we're not expecting perfection. And if we were, then it's an unrealistic, unreasonable expectation that we need to reconsider. At the end of the day, be realistic. Watching videos on brain training or watching other people do puzzles isn't enough. Don't just wish for change. Really practice your skills. If we could all wish for change, it would definitely make everything a lot easier. But it's just not possible. So, let's be realistic. Identify what really needs to change. Sometimes we get sidetracked by things that aren't necessarily important, which could easily be because we're trying to ignore those elephants in the room. Identify first, and then say, hey, I'm working on this over here. So step 1 is to be realistic. Next, you must identify what really needs to change. Then finally, you must surround yourself with people who stimulate your personal growth. Surround yourself with people who are going to help you meet your goals, both physical and mental. Next, we will talk about cognitive and emotional flexibility. Thank you for choosing the Recovery Village. If you or a loved one are struggling with mental health or substance abuse and would like to find out more about the programs we offer, please reach out to us directly at 855-387-3291.